Really? Okay, so this is the craziest map in the current StarCraft 2 map pool. And for some reason, it's map number 1 in this week's ESL Open Cup finals. Now, of course, this is the European version. Of course, right here in the top right-hand corner in game number 1, we have none other than MaxPax's and his opponent. He goes by the name of Clem. I mean, that really isn't much of a surprise. These two, it's almost like Hero versus Dark on the Korean server. These two, they've been playing against each other pretty much every single week as of late. Either way, I've only seen a handful of games so far on this particular map because it is weird. So real quick, if maybe you're a little out of the loop, we now have 9 maps as part of the StarCraft 2 map pool. Historically, we've only ever had 7, and because of that, well, since we now have 9, every player gets 1 additional veto in a series. So in a best-of-5, like this particular series, both players get to have, well, 2 map vetoes, and I guess they ended up not vetoing this one. And for some reason, I kind of assumed it would always be, if it does make it through the vetoing phase of a tournament series, I always assumed that it would be the final game of the series. Almost like an extra veto at the very end. But for some reason, these guys have decided that they're going to be playing on Radusset Station as their very first map. So, in case you're unfamiliar, because I can imagine you may not have seen a whole lot of games on this map just yet. I mean, I watched a lot of StarCraft and I've seen like 4 at this level of play. There is a very interesting layout to this particular map. So first off, the normal rush distance from natural to natural ramp, so from right about right over here to right about right over there, is usually anywhere between like 32 and like 38 seconds, something along those lines. This map has a rush distance that is well into the 40 seconds. Something along the lines of like 42, 43. I could have looked this up, but it doesn't really matter all too much. What I'm saying is that the map's rush distance is very long. So Zachary the Zealot over here is going to have a very long job ahead of him. He is going to be sent across the map, but I've got a feeling that the command center on the low ground will be done by the time that he gets there. It's going to take a while. Anyhow, besides that though, the map layout is just very different than all of the other maps. It's not necessarily like bad or just weird in general. It's just that it requires additional practice. So if I were to make a guess, we'll probably see this map more going forward. But since, of course, this new map pool also went hand in hand with a new set of balance changes, I can imagine that the pro gamers are focusing their efforts on just learning the game once again and setting up a new baseline. Either way, there's a tucked away natural... Well, I mean, it's a natural third, I guess is what we can call this. There's a couple of mineral fields over here that you can very easily mine out. Only takes 2 trips for a worker to mine out one of them, and obviously, well, you can mine both of them pretty quick. Honestly, that command center almost finished. That's so funny. We're gonna be able to finish it here eventually. Max is gonna scout as well on the low ground to see if there would be a super quick third command center, but that's not quite the case. Yeah. I don't think I like the Zealot open on a map like this all too much. It's good on most maps, but right here, not ideal. It's, by the way, a Cyclone right now on the back of this together with an Oracle. Now, we have this tucked away base over here, and then this really cursed-looking setup where there's, like, layers of rocks, and then also more mineral fields over here that just make this base very difficult to break into. However, once you do mine this out, and usually it seems to be the defender that ends up destroying all of this, you have access to a nice golden base that ordinarily would feel very far away. Anyhow, Adept's trying to shade forward right now. I mean, yeah, they're being chased right there by the Cyclone. He's gonna just try and get as much value as he can, but in the end, I really don't like the start very much right here at all for MaxPax's. Maybe this Oracle can get some damage done. I mean, obviously the natural expansions, also a little bit strange as far as the layout goes, because they're expanding in the direction of the opponent. Ooh, getting a mule would be kind of nice, but nah, not gonna happen. Nice micro right there coming out of Clem. Alright, and then the rest of all of the bases on this map feel like they are like 3 miles apart. Zork players generally like expanding, well, to far away bases like that, but even for them it feels a lot of distance to cover. So the first 3 bases are easy to acquire, and after that it is gonna be a lot more difficult. But then obviously you still have a lot of distance to cover towards the other side of the map. Okay, that SCV died, and somehow the scaffolding still magically disappeared. You love to see it. Launch Bay Station. All right. So anyways, MaxPax's has now already also mined out those mineral fields in the back, and well, Clem, of course, already finished up his third command center. Both players just happily playing a macro game here. So despite the fact that this start isn't really ideal here for Protoss, I don't think that Clem is really going to be able to punish him for it. We've got the combat shields and the stim pack coming up right now together with the +1 infantry weapons, but all of those upgrades are still at least a minute or so away until they are done. And that means, of course, that MaxPax is going to have a lot of time. Now, what is he going to use that time for? Well, he's going to be, or using that time on, I guess is a better way to say it. He's going to be getting himself a robotics base, and that will allow him to get those Colossi going. And Colossi, of course, especially in combination with Phoenixes, assuming you micro everything well, they're very powerful. So despite the fact that this is a start that I don't think MaxPax would like to see again in this series, yeah, he'll be happy to have the Colossi going here, and he should be more than safe. Okay, so where are things gonna go from there? So we have seen a couple SCVs fly up in the air. There we go. Okay, not bad. Getting a good bit of value right here out of these, well, just 3 Phoenixes. There's a 4th one joining in as well. I don't believe a single one, no, has gone down yet at this point. So nice control right here coming out of the Danish Protoss. Spent a lot of time recently fanboying over MaxPax's skill. MaxPax, genuinely, in my mind, the #1 Protoss right now. There it is. Yeah. Statistically, that's not true. According to Aligilek, which keeps track of every single tournament game that's being played in StarCraft 2, I do believe that Hero right now is considered to be the rank 1 Protoss, and maybe he is. I'm a big fan of Hero too, don't get me wrong, but there's something special about MaxPax, dude. Now, if only the man would also play offline tournaments, because I know a lot of people, myself somewhat included as well, if I'm being perfectly frank, a lot of people don't consider you to be a top-level player unless you win offline events. I wonder how much that really skews the data, right? So, like, there's a lot of discussion in the StarCraft community going on for quite a while now that Protoss is simply not winning premier tournaments, right? So Protoss hasn't won big premier tournaments in quite some time. Is that due to balance? Or is it, well, maybe some of it definitely is. I don't think the game is perfectly balanced, but ooh, are we gonna do a cheeky little fake drop over here? Or is it due to the fact that MaxPax doesn't play offline events? Genuinely. I mean, obviously, if you want to win offline events, you're gonna have to take down guys like Serral and Raynor and Clem, and like all of these players that we see winning tournaments, but there's no denying that MaxPax would be a guy who at the very least can make it into the top 4. I wonder, it's just an interesting thought process, how much one player can skew the data. I think it's actually quite significant, but anyways. Maybe one day MaxPax will wake up and show himself at an offline tournament. At this point too, though, the pressure is on, right? I mean, a lot of players, they get good while playing offline events. But MaxPax just, yeah, if he ever does decide to show up, he doesn't have any practice. Anyways, Clem right now is stepping forward. He's found a very exposed 4th Nexus, and that one will indeed get shut down. That poking and prodding over at the 3rd base, showing the medevacs and hanging out at the watchtower, it forced MaxPax to position his army in a location where he could be defending a drop over at the 3rd. But now with the Phoenixes taking up shop over here, yeah, they're gonna keep track of what's happening at that watchtower, and that means that the rest of this Protoss army can hang out over at this base right here on the right. What's impressing me the most, though, about MaxPax is that he doesn't really have that. I think a lot of Protoss players have this urge to finally be ahead in a game, right? Especially against Terran, and then what they decide to do is effectively make it an all-in, right? Because PvT, it really does feel a little bit shaky. When Protoss doesn't have an amazing start, it's very tricky for them to actually, yeah, get back into the game and to play a macro match. But MaxPax is very much so just playing happy macro games, just going, well, mass expansion all over the map, not really worried too much about playing a long, drawn-out game against Terran, because he knows he has the micro and the skill to pull it off. Now, I say that right as we see this Prism getting sniped, but at the very least, the Zealots are going to be able to get out. Okay, so no 4th command center to be seen anywhere just yet here for our Terran. Well, I mean, it's over here at the front, but not landed yet at a 4th base location, and that's gonna work out in his favor here. MaxPax just marching across, but both players, much like these Colossi here so far, just tiptoeing around each other. By the way, if you design a massive skyscraper-sized, you know, unit as like a Protoss designer, I guess maybe gravity isn't the same on Ire, but like this does not seem like a particularly practical design for anything. Am I mistaken? I mean, honestly, it's kind of hard to say how Protoss tech works. Because this looks like a very heavy unit as well, right? So these legs are just inefficient, but yeah, maybe not. They can walk up and down cliffs. You could just give them little thrusters maybe and make them a flying unit. Anyways, if I was in these in charge of the Protoss weapon arsenal, right? I don't. Are there units, like, are there people piloting the Colossi? I don't know the lore of a Colossus. Are these like complete artificial intelligences? Follow-up question: does that mean that we will get Colossi on Earth as well? Because that would be kind of scary. I was gonna say sick originally, but kind of scary. Okay, so MaxPax's is very good when it comes to these Zealot run-bys. One problem though on this map is that there's only so many angles that you can actually run in from. So obviously, yeah, you can fly in with your prism over here, but it's a little dangerous. There's Widow Mines here together with a missile turret set up. Okay, instead we're gonna be coming in from this angle over here. Pressure is gonna start mounting over here at the front. Planetary Fortress at the 4th base location. If that one can be denied, that would be massive, but good EMPs right there from Clem. 15 SCVs have already gone down though. Those Zealots still going to town. Reinforcing Terran units will eventually get rid of them. But MaxPax's certainly has been getting a lot of value out of his Zealot run-bys. And 15 SCVs is certainly something you can be happy with. Disruptor's coming up right now together with a Dark Shrine. Clem just happily piling on as many Vikings as he can right now as well. He's got his ultimate infantry force. And he's taking a big Disruptor to the face. But yeah, this is definitely the moment where Terran can start marching across the map. And you know what? MaxPax's may have overstayed his welcome for just a little while. Vikings chasing down whatever they can. Concussive grenades do connect right there with that Disruptor too. Vikings, okay, at the very least there's a few Stalkers starting to push them back right now, but concussive shells also slow that down, and ultimately, that was a very costly set of losses right there for MaxPax's. Clem does not want to push any further though. He realizes that the battery overcharge and, well, the defender's advantage in general is just not something he wants to deal with. There is, however, another base over here on the right that somehow looks like it's got some creep spread close to the mineral fields. That's a little bit cursed. Anyways, yeah, there is another Nexus over here off to the right. I think he could have actually gone after it if he realized that that expansion was already taken, but I don't believe, yeah, that Clem has ever been at this location on the map just yet. Okay. So, instead what we have is a fusion core coming up. Additional command centers right now. And we got ourselves the 3-3 research here as well. So both players really respecting each other here a lot. I can imagine that they also don't have a lot of practice playing this map necessarily, right? I mean, maybe they assumed that the opponent would be cheesing because this is such a weird one. But instead, we're just playing a proper macro game here. Nice dodges right there, all things considered. Quite a few Terran units, though, have still gone down. But expensive losses as well on the Protoss' end. We've got a small group of units here harassing, too. That's, of course, where those Disruptors are extra scary, right? When Terran comes in, or sorry, Protoss comes in with a Prism, and they drop a bunch of Zealots in your natural expansion, and then at the same time, you're trying to chase down Disruptors. That's where it goes wrong for most Terran players on the ladder. Dividing your attention is much easier said than done. Anyways, oh, look at that. We've got the Medevac energy improvement queued up right here after the advanced ballistics. This is what I assumed would happen with the new multiplayer balance patch. It's not really an upgrade, the Caduceus reactor, that you want to rush out, but yeah. If you're gonna get the advanced ballistics upgrade, which is a ranged upgrade for your Liberators, that usually means you're playing a longer game, and at that point your Medevacs are obviously also gonna gain more value too. So I think this makes a lot of sense. Okay. So this, by the way, the upgrade, it's gonna double the speed at which Medevacs regenerate energy. Carriers in the meantime, though, coming up on the other side of the map. Fleet beacons and fusion cores. The story of late-game Terran versus Protoss. You know what? If this is gonna be game number 1 of this series, this may turn out to be a very long video. I may have to get some coffee, actually, after this first game. Because this game is not gonna end anytime soon, it seems, and it looks like I may be here for a little while. Hope you got yourself a drink as well. If you are enjoying these casts, by the way, do make sure you hit that like button down below. I can't talk anymore. This is how bad I am at selling out on YouTube. If you do enjoy the video, hit the like button down below. It really does help. I know it's annoying whenever I ask. And apparently my brain is also like, yo, Lowko, don't do it. Don't do it, Lowko. It's bad for your... Don't do it. It's good for your viewers, though. Whenever I do ask, I notice that the videos literally get like 20,000 more views. It's like that extreme. You ask, hey, can you guys hit the like button? Like 1,000 people do. And then suddenly your video gets 20,000 more views. Kind of amazing. Anyways, tactical nuke coming up right now for Mr. Clem. Thank you, by the way. Appreciate you. We do have a zealot attempt here once again as well by MaxPax's, but just dancing back and forth. Lovely control right here by Clem, though. Trying to get a choke right here on this base. Protoss is very... I feel like he should mind this out. Makes it so hard for him to engage this, because this choke point, right, this concave over here. Oh my god, okay. Well, that was a kill on the Nexus, while at the same time also getting a kill on a large group of bio. He doesn't really want to show the carrier army yet. Yeah, we've got these carriers hanging out over here. He probably wants to show them as a surprise to his opponent. I mean, Christmas is coming up, of course. I don't think the game is going to last that long, but maybe he can gift these carriers. We have multiple nukes. Alright, interesting. I thought for a second he had cancelled it and decided to go and restart it once more, but that doesn't really make a lot of sense. So Clem has already added on a second... Hello. Okay. A second one over there, and he's gonna be able to start nuking his opponent nice and early. I think you mine this out. You destroy all of these rocks and you mine out the mineral fields. I mean, it's gonna take a little bit of time, but I do think it's gonna be helpful here in the end. Okay, so now the Liberators are showing up, and I think that might indeed be the cue as well for these carriers to get into action. How many Vikings are we on? We're currently at only 10 Vikings. At this point, though, I must imagine that Clem is looking at this too, and he's like, yo, that Protoss army is looking mighty weak. That's because the carriers are here. Okay. And suddenly, I mean, we lose a couple of units, but suddenly, the Protoss army is starting to overwhelm a lot of this. I mean, it's mostly Marauders left over, so the carriers are flying away, but I was gonna say, this is the moment where Clem is the one who has to pack his bags and get on out of there. Still, though, he's got triple starport reactor here, so he's gonna be able to start pumping out those Vikings 6 at a time. Not bad whatsoever. Mama ship coming up. Base in the bottom right-hand corner, taken. Liberator harassing over here on the right side, getting a bunch of kills in. This is an excellent game, guys. Ay, ay, ay. We're coming up on 20 minutes, and it's not clear who's at an advantage here. I mean, obviously, I like this position better now for MaxPax's. But this is by no means necessarily a MaxPax's win. A lot of the advantages has been, yeah, mostly down to the disruptors coming in and getting a lot of damage done. You gotta be careful, though. When so many Vikings get produced all at once, it can be tempting to assume that you have that carrier and sky advantage, but it really doesn't have to be the case. Matter of fact, drop in the meantime on the other side of the map. Mama ship is gonna be popping out of the Nexus here soon enough. 300 minerals, 300 gas. Zealot run by over here too. Okay. Yeah, there's just not a lot of paths on this map, right? Like, there's not a lot of angles that you can engage from. So, normally MaxPax's, he gets a ton of damage done with his Zealot run-bys, but there's just not a lot of angles where he can be moving in. If there's planetary fortresses here on the left side, it's just hard to get much done. Matter of fact, drop over here, we're gonna get something done as well, though. Mama ship now moving towards the right side of the map. Keep in mind that the Mama ship does have the offensive recall ability. Terrans like to call it the recall ability. That's when they get very angry. These couple of Marines and Marauders have gotten so much work done. Yeah, they're setting up right here. There we go, some Dark Templar, I like that. They're setting themselves up in that position. Where'd the Mama ship go? Okay, just hanging out over here. I thought maybe she'd be flying down over here to do an offensive recall into that base of the Terran. This has required so many warp-ins, though, from the Terran, or from the Protoss, rather. Terrans wishes they could warp in. That'd be insane. No, they certainly forced in a lot of warp-ins, and because of the surface area right there, plugging the units in between these structures, only a few zealots could be working away at those units at a time. Okay. So Clem does actually stabilize here. At least somewhat. How many Vikings does he have currently? 18. There are soon to be 10 carriers in this game, though. They're gonna be properly upgraded. That's the +3 research finishing up right now for the capital ships. One ghost on a little parade? Yeah, I was gonna say, that's not gonna happen, buddy. You wanted to move on in, but... Has he seen the Mothership? Tactical nuke, by the way, coming up. You love to see it. Moving on over towards the bottom right. Here, I think, is what we are waiting for, though. An offensive recall. The Mothership is scooting forward. This nuke will be denied. I'm gonna keep my camera over here, because I think what Protoss wants to do is an offensive recall into the base right here of the Terran. Suddenly, well, your mineral wall no longer matters. That nuke did land, by the way. I did not show you on the camera, but you know what the tactical nuke looks like. Maybe we'll see another one here. Maybe it is going to be forced over into the third base of the Terran player. Okay, all of those abilities are no longer relevant, though, on the Mothership, because you did get destroyed, but that cloaking still bought a ton of time. A lot of those carriers managed to stay alive because of it. Still, though, the Viking numbers here are not to be underestimated. Clem took a lot of damage. He now also lost that command center, but ultimately he did win the air war. 12 Dark Templar, by the way, being warped in on the back it is. Okay. The invisible men are gonna start marching across the map. Yeah, Vikings are very good units, guys. That was like 20 Vikings taking care of about half that amount of carriers. And the Mothership too. You guys get stuck on the pyramid right there? What happened? Okay. Oh my god. I was gonna say, yeah, this is kind of dangerous. But you can use those Dark Templar blinks to get away as well. I actually think that that mass recall, as cool as it was, it may have just thrown the game. I mean, there's still a good chunk of income here for MaxPax's. I would have liked it better, I think, if he had the golden minerals already taken. Okay, well, that guy forgot to cloak, apparently. Not necessarily a throw, but... I do think the position was a little bit better for MaxPax's before that point. The problem here is that, in the meantime, well, Terran has set up all of those bases as well on the left side. Did the Dark Templar blink over the mineral line? I guess they did. Very cool. Dark Templar, though, are basically just more expensive zealots, right? So... Oh, as nice as they are... They're by no means a cheap unit. This guy apparently got 6 kills. Not to be underestimated. Another tactical nuke coming up. Okay, Clem is slowly but surely working on his remax. Making more of the same units that he's been producing for a while already. No battle cruisers or anything like that, although honestly, it wouldn't even be a bad choice at this point. He's got +3 air weapons done. It would be kind of sick, but problem is the unit is expensive and it takes a long time to produce. Another tactical nuke, this time around heading on over towards the golden base. This guy, who already got 6 confirmed probe kills earlier, is now going to start working on some of this as well. How many flying units do we still have, though? Ooh, that's 8 probes going down. How many flying units does Protoss still have? 0. So you gotta be careful here with your Vikings. But honestly, looking at the supply count right now, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, you can obviously always lend these bad boys as well. They still deal bonus damage to mechanical units. And what really looked like an amazing play for MaxPax's, I think it ended up backfiring. He's gonna have to collapse on top of his army. Nice liftoff right there by Clem. GG is called, and it's our Terran player from France who obtains the victory in game number 1. Game number 2, we find ourselves on the map Site Delta. Now, I really like what Clem did there, though. So... those missile turrets and those widow mines and those couple of Vikings on standby at the pocket base, they really made it difficult for MaxPax's to fly in with the prism. And MaxPax's really seems to be super reliant on getting those zealots into the opponent's main base and doing offensive warp-ins and trying to set up run-bys and all that. And if you have the right side, at the very least in that spawn location, if you have the right side of your bases covered with that static defense and with those widow mines and all that, right? At that point, the left side really is the only angle that MaxPax's can be coming in from. And as long as you build planetary fortresses on top of your bases there, you've in a way almost nullified all of those zealot run-bys. And in a straight-up battle, it seems that the Terran player just, yeah, has the superior army in the late game, at the very least in this particular instance. So I like what MaxPax's did there, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if, in the future against Clem, we're not gonna see him allow Radusat Station to come through the vetoing phase. I wonder what maps he did veto, though. Let me actually have a quick little peek, okay? How many games have been played at the tournament level on that particular map so far? 36! Only 36? It's been several weeks. That's funny. Oh, interestingly enough, okay, well, maybe my assessment is completely wrong. Apparently, so far, we've had 16 games of Protoss versus Terran played at the tournament level on that previous map. And it was Protoss winning 62% of the time. Alright. Interesting. A little bit of a dance over here. We can dance if we want to. Eventually, though, the command center does go down. And we will be seeing a Reaper permanently getting rid, I believe, of that probe. It's gonna be a sad moment. Prepare your crying face. Be ready to post your sad emojis in the comment section. Parry the probe is gonna die. He's got a very slow death animation. He's trying his very best to distract this army as much as possible. The Terran Dominion right now, all the way out of position. But not really a whole lot that can be done in the meantime. There's no Zealot or anything along those lines here. And otherwise, I guess the Marine would have been tasked with getting the work done. Okay, so. It's gonna be a Twilight Council this time around here for MaxPax. His bread and butter, the strategy that he likes playing the most. You can't really go for Blink Stalker on every single map, because you need to have space to be able to blink into your opponent's main base, and Radusat Station just doesn't have that option. You kind of want to be able to force the Terran to split their army between the natural and the main, and on Radusat Station, you don't have that option. The Terran can just put all of their units in the natural, and then at about at that point they're, yeah, gonna be A-okay. So I'm assuming this is gonna be Blink first. It would make the most sense. Boom. There it is. He started the upgrade because I said boom. Oh, 2 SCVs, dangerously low on health, but nice control right there by Clem. Doing an excellent job here so far. Yep. Yeah, Clem's micro really is very pretty. Some of the very best control in all of StarCraft 2 for sure. And honestly, you know what? Looking at those most recent Maru games that I've seen, I've been a hell of a lot more impressed by Clem lately than I have been by Maru. Is that even, can you even say that? I feel like that might be one of the cardinal sins of the Terran. I don't know how many of you visit the All Things Terran subreddit, but Maru is basically their god, okay? I'm fairly sure that half of the users of /r/All Things Terran have like a little shrine in their living room dedicated to Maru, man. They light a candle every night. But yeah, honestly, looking at those games he played in the GSL, looking at that series he recently played against MaxPax's, not a huge fan. Nope. I think Clem has been looking a hell of a lot better than Maru, at least in that very small in that very small subset of games I did watch. All right, it's gonna be that Raven. The Raven's certainly still a good choice, by the way, in this matchup. It's obviously weaker than it once used to be, but a lot of Terrans are still getting a lot of enjoyment out of it. Widowmine drop, by the way, attempted here on the right side of the map, but we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait until the Protoss player is busy microing on the other side of the map, and that's when we're gonna fly in with the medevac. Yep, it's gonna be one of those scary moments where Protoss can accidentally lose everything. Obviously, one of the issues is that these Stalkers and this Prism, they're requiring a lot of attention. And that's exactly what that medevac pilot is well aware of. Okay, blink into the main base. Boom. We want to go after the Stimpack research. Nice control right here so far by our Protoss. Honestly, that is some phenomenal micro here, yeah. Getting the first siege tank, getting the second siege tank, maybe? Not quite the case. Oh, yeah, no, he does get it now. Raven goes down too? That might honestly, just be GG. There's no units available anymore. Oh, yeah, that's it. So, we still had that medevac over on the other side of the map, but it never even flew in. Mr. Clem, that is not your side of the map. Okay, so we find ourselves on the map Heart-Lead. And apparently, Clem has decided to build his very first unit-producing structure, other than, I guess, the command center, on the other side of the map. Okay. Well, this is certainly going to be Reapers. They can do the little jump from the barracks straight into the main base. And it's gonna hurt the Protoss quite a bit if this is going to be unscouted. Now, luckily here for MaxPax, He did send the probe across the map nice and early this time around, so he will see exactly what's happening here. Problem is, of course, that you, well, see the lack of structure here on top of the high ground, but that doesn't really tell you the full story. At the very least, it is going to trigger the Zealot, which is going to make things a bit easier, but you still don't really know exactly. There could just be a barracks right over here, or right over there, or could be anywhere. Anyhow, the Zealot, yeah, it's going to be set up over here inside of the main base, and we'll definitely see a chrono boost on another unit here as soon as the cybernetics core here is done. Be it a Stalker, be it an Adept, it really doesn't matter all too much, but you do want to make sure you have something reliable to deal with this very first Jetpack Raider. Alright, Stalker coming up. How many workers can Clem kill? So there's a second Reaper also building. So far, lovely control. I do believe we're going to see at least one of those bad boys fall, because this one is very low. I was going to say, there you go. Not bad, though. Is that just a single probe? Yeah. Just a single worker here so far in total. Obviously, the natural expansion is another thing you will need to protect here momentarily. We might want to start up another unit, but for now, apparently, we're just going to go with the one Stalker and the one Zealot. And I've got a feeling, yeah, that we are A-okay. Okay. Yep. So, Stargate coming up once again here for MaxPax's. And the barracks is already making the flight of shame all the way back home. There's a pilot inside of the front of this barracks somewhere, okay? Feeling awfully embarrassed about this entire situation. I'm assuming at the very least there's a unit inside of each of these structures that is piloting it. I mean, look at this. This is basically a spaceship. Yeah. Nah, there's definitely people inside of this thing somewhere. It's not entirely to scale, I suppose, right? Because otherwise maybe the unit producing structures would be rather big. I've never quite understood, though, exactly how supply depots work. So, the thing about supply depots is that I guess they're like cylindrical, right? So they're supposed to go all the way underground like this. Like, this is only the top of the supply depot that you can see right now. There's like an elevator that goes all the way from here, and then you can leave the supply depot, assuming you live there, right? The idea, though, that you can lower the supply depot, at which point a burrowed roach can go over it, is really strange. How does that not get detected by neither the Zerg nor the Terran? I don't know, guys. Anyways, medevac drop coming in right now. We're gonna drop off one Widow Mine over here. This is every Protoss player's worst nightmare. Okay. 5 workers, not quite enough. Assuming they're not gonna fire a second time, which really should not be happening. Oh, we got ourselves the armory here already. Okay. Cheeky little play. Gonna need some form of detection, but at this point we have none of it. So that does mean that these bad boys will fire again. Now the question is, okay, exactly. Did MaxPax's pay attention to the clock? Turns out he did. Over here? So what you want to do as Protoss, this is a small little decision that you make, but you want to note the exact time that it takes for the Widow Mines to recharge. And then you want to pay attention to the clock when these units come in. And obviously with a little bit of consistency, with a little bit of practice, you will know the timings at which you need to pull those workers a second time. But in the end, I mean, that was 10 workers right there for just 3 Widow Mines. Not a bad start whatsoever. Obviously, you gotta take into account the cost right here of that armory. The armory is what allows them to stay cloaked. Cheeky by Mr. Clem. I don't know if that's that great of a start for him, though, all things considered. I mean, it's annoying, yes, but now he's gonna be slowed down with any sort of follow-up here, right? So the Stimpak is coming up right now, but the infantry weapons is gonna be a little bit late. We don't have combat shields yet, so for the foreseeable future, it's gonna be all Protoss out on the map, and he can do whatever he likes. So I'm assuming we're gonna see a third Nexus here. Ooh, body blocking. Body blocking the Ursa deck half. There you go. Sorry, buddy. You wanted to walk that way. You see that? Poor guy. I was assuming we were gonna see a third, but not yet, apparently. There's a Robo Bay coming up. And this is something that can be difficult for the Terran to figure out. Like, if Protoss does decide to go for a 2-base all-in, which would be a bit weird, I was gonna say. But if he would, that's not really something that Terran can figure out anymore at this point, right? Not until he... yeah, has a... well, I guess he could drop a scan or something, but he can't really send a medevac out or a Viking or anything at this point. He just sits here, and he has to take the beating. The beatings will continue until morale improves. Sorry, lads. You're gonna need to get your stim pack out. I'm gonna need to see everybody carry their shields. +1 infantry weapons. We just need more dudes. More dudes, better than less dudes. Every Terran player out there, ever. Okay. In the meantime, though, on the other side of the map, MaxPax's is happily... Okay, we did sneak out the Reaper. You do love to see that. MaxPax's is happily getting himself more and more workers. So despite the fact that the third is not done just yet, we're gonna just long distance mine these bases for just a little while. And it does make things a little bit more handy, but here comes the Terran, right? So we should have a Colossus out. This is where that micro has to be on point. We have a shield battery over here as well. How good are MaxPax's dancing skills? Well, it can be quite annoying. Widowmine drop over here, that one will get shut down. Medevac drop over towards the main base of the Protoss too. We're gonna have to start dancing. Okay, so far so good. Dancing may be taught in Danish schools. I don't know. I don't know how Denmark works, but yeah, I'm impressed so far with the way that Max is doing it. On his little tippy toes. Colossi would look excellent in a tutu. Am I wrong? Like those... Oh, sorry. Maybe there's more important things to discuss. But they could wear those, like, ballet shoes really well. I think, yeah. Ooh, okay. Sorry about that, Immortal Man, but you do, of course, have your barrier ability. It's gonna be on cooldown for a little while right now, and the splash damage of the Colossus, it helped getting rid of that mine. Another Widow Mine attempt, but these are starting to look more and more desperate now. Okay. Extended thermal lens at this point is done. We have 3 laser giraffes already. These guys don't mess around. Matter of fact, drop attempted towards the main base. He's gonna be fully committed here, I guess, but that's gonna be the end for most of these medevac's. There's no way that they're gonna be able to get out. Maybe this over here at the front can get a little bit more work done, though. Oh my god, massive Widow Mine detonation inside of the third base. At the same time, the Bio Army is moving forward here, trying to get done whatever they can. Medevac drop in the main base did get denied eventually, but suddenly, ay. When it rains, it pours. What originally was a stellar defense right there from MaxPax's turned out to be an absolute disaster when he did not pay attention for just about a heartbeat or two. Clem seems to be a little bit confused about what side of the map he should be building his infrastructure on. Once again, we have an SCV on the other side of the map. This time around, it's not going to be a barracks, it's going to be an engineering bay. MaxPax's, though, was already checking over here. And, well, he is going to finish, or not finish, he's going to find that there is indeed a structure on his side of the map once again. Not a whole lot he can do about it, but at the very least now he can anticipate, right? It happens so often that Protoss players go down towards the low ground. They're like, hey, I want to build a Nexus. I've got 400 mineral. Oh, never mind. There's a building already in my natural expansion. Yeah, so this time around he can go for the second gas. He can go for, well, a third base if he wants to, but at the very least he can anticipate. So we're going to go straight into the Zealot. Zealot looks like it's got 1 confirmed kill, so yeah, that SCV ended up finding its grave over here, and MaxPax's really hasn't been slowed down very much. Keep in mind that the engineering bay block, while very annoying as a Protoss player, it's not necessarily that great for Terran either, because effectively they also end up slowing themselves down quite a bit. Yeah, you do get your money back, but obviously it's a little bit of opportunity lost here in the earlier stages of the game. Clem is now finally gonna have 400 minerals to go into his own command center if he wants to, but yeah. His own command center is gonna be delayed. As a matter of fact, we're gonna go for another proxy. It's gonna be a starport here in the middle of the map. Just a straight 1 base 1-1-1 right here for Clem. Okay. This adept shading backwards, I like it. He wants to see what's going on here. Doesn't see a whole lot. He doesn't see a CC. Could be over there, I guess. I don't think it would fit. Okay. Not a Void Ray follow-up this time around from MaxPax's. I think last time I saw him getting his natural expansion block like that, he took the third base. Because he was caught off guard a little bit more than he was at this particular game. And in that series, he ended up going for Void Rays. But apparently we're favoring the Phoenix this time around. Okay, so this will be a Hellion drop inside of the opponent's base. SCV that built that starport and also gave a quick little repair right there to those Hellions. You love to see it. But eventually these Hellions are ready to roast probes. I've got a feeling though that these Phoenixes are gonna have a grand old time. There's gonna be pretty much enough Phoenixes to, well, lift up all of those Hellions, and at that point there's not a whole lot you can do anymore. It does take 3 of those Hellions to one-shot a probe. So let's see. Okay, yeah, lifting up 2 of them is clever. Nice pickup there as well, though, by the Terran, trying to get whatever he can before he's forced on out of there. But ultimately, that is a failed beginning. We do have a command center here eventually, but it's very late. Now, there's still the medevac out. Is he gonna turn it around? Doesn't look like it. Nah, he's gonna try and get that one back home. The medevac is very costly. You can still try and get some kills, maybe, but... Alright, now it's MaxPax's turn to shine. This is exactly the early game you're hoping for as a Protoss player. Everything's been going well. Nice repair micro right there, though, by our Terran as well, trying to keep these Cyclones alive, but the Cyclones are really not quite as powerful anymore as they once used to be. They're cheaper, they're easier to produce and all that, but they don't have nearly as much range anymore. Starport is going to take a little bit of damage. Whatever damage can be done right now is nice. Alright, so a robo facility here. We'll probably see a robo bay here momentarily once again as well. And the robotics bay, there it is going to allow him to go into the Colossus. So very similar situation as what we saw in the previous series, or in the previous games rather, of this series already. But this time around I think MaxPax is much happier with everything, because the Terran has slowed himself down a lot and he didn't really take any damage at home. There's no Widow Mines out either in this game, which I think any Protoss player is happy about. A little bit late right there on the SCV pool this time around. Nice shoveling as well with those Phoenixes, so the low HP one will stay alive for a little while longer. Okay, so now it's an uphill battle right here for Clem. What exactly is his plan going to be? What exactly does he want to do to try and get back into the swing of things? Well, there's no third command center or anything along those lines. As a matter of fact, he just has 3 barracks over here and he's going to start pumping out as many units as possible. The problem is, by the time that he is finally ready to go for a big push, so he wants to wait until, well, preferably both of these upgrades are done. So the infantry weapons together with the combat shields. But by the time he's got all of those upgrades done, there will certainly be a Colossus out on the other side. And that Colossus right now is already on the horizon. Not a whole lot you can do to push into this base either. If you march across right now, you're probably going to lose half your mineral line. And then the Phoenixes will still be home in time as well to defend. I mean, he can give it a try. But there's almost enough Phoenixes to lift up every Marine, man. It's not looking all too great here. I wouldn't mind it if Clem actually just marched over here and then went back home. I don't think he should commit. But then again, he doesn't really have much of a choice. Yeah, he shot one little missile right there with the Cyclone. So at the very least, he's forced the Phoenixes to go back home, right? So the Phoenixes, by the way, splitting themselves up as well. Ready to intercept the medevac drop. Very cool. You don't need all of the Phoenixes at the same place at the same time. Splitting your army, though, as Protoss is tricky. But, yeah, this is not looking all too great right here for Clem, although he's feeling confident enough at this point, apparently, to go for that command center over at the 3rd base location. It's also important here to not overestimate the situation here for Protoss. So, yeah, this has been a good start, but there's still a lot of ways in which this can go south. Small group of Phoenixes, by the way, have been tasked with just harassing whatever they can, and, well, there's a fresh mule over here. 2 fresh mules, even. He doesn't know. Oh, more medevacs over here in main base, though. We're gonna once again boost them in. No Widow Mine distraction to be seen anywhere this time around, but the Colossus ends up going down really quickly. Second Colossus is, however, available. Nice force field there as well to at least back off some of those Terran units. 3rd command center still not restarted. There was still some Phoenixes harassing wherever they can. Yeah, losing the Colossus kind of sucks, but this is still certainly a really nice position here for MaxPax. He's got the extended thermal lens done. He's going into his Twilight Council and Forge upgrades right now. He's not quite ready to go for a big attack just yet, but now he's got 3 base economy. And he is getting to the point where he quickly outgrows the Terran. So even though the supply count is looking pretty even right now, that's gonna only be a temporary thing. No armory built, by the way, either for Clem. He's really scraping the bottom of the barrel here. Trying his very best to just produce whatever he can. Well, getting a kill in this base would be a nice start. That's a cancel. 100 minerals down the drain right there, better than nothing. But there is certainly going to be a Protoss attack here momentarily. I think this Templar Archives is primarily just to go into Archons. Archons get shut down really, really hard, of course, by those ghosts. But in a game like this, that's another thing that Clem really can't afford. So no armory, no ghosts. He's just trying to stay alive. And maybe he can, yeah, he can sing the song, right? Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. Maybe that's the solution. But I really don't think it's gonna do much. You can do. Yeah, maybe Clem, you can put that song on right now. He can cross his fingers and hope he can get some ghosts going. You can look the other way. Welcome to my karaoke video. Stand alive. Nah, it's not gonna happen, dude. He can dream. He can dream. As soon as MaxPax's decides to spend his money, I think the dream is over. But he's not spending his money so far. He's going up to 2,000 minerals. Or 2,000 resources, rather. Not a big fan of that, I'm not gonna lie. He missed a complete set of warpins. But at this point, the advantage might just be big enough that it really doesn't matter. He is making it much more difficult than it needs to be, though. Oh my god. No, Mr. MaxPax's. That's a little bit sloppy. But that is ultimately still a Terran player who is not staying alive. No. This is still a more competitive game than it should have been. Mostly because MaxPax still has 1,300 resources in the bank. It's just too much. He lost the Prism there. Yeah, he just needed one additional round of like 8 Stalkers there. Maybe 2 Archons and like a bunch of Zealots, something like that, but... Well, those are the moments you want to avoid. Now suddenly, I mean, Clem is still not in a good position, but he will at the very least be able to supplement his army with some ghosts as well. Maybe singing the song did work out, guys. MaxPax's is gonna have to pivot from here. Mostly just continue doing the same thing he has been doing. But he's already pivoting into setting up some run-bys here as well. Yeah, I really think that the run-bys are very annoying to deal with. Obviously, there's no missile turrets or widow mines or anything like that hiding in the main base. And I think we're gonna go for another wave over here. The second layer of the all-in. MaxPax's strategy is like a wedding cake, okay? Like a house of cards. Maybe that's a better analogy. Not sure how the wedding cake is going to make things any better. He sliced up half of the second level of the wedding cake before he really committed to a proper attack. Made no sense, dude. Nobody starts slicing a cake in the middle. You get a really crooked slice. It looks ugly. You've just spent like 500 bucks on a stupid cake anyways. I don't know how much a wedding cake is, but I'm assuming it's overpriced. Either way, even though he started slicing in the middle, eventually he made his way to the top. Alrighty, and that will take us to the map Hecate. Game number 5 in this best-of-5 series. These two, they seem to be very evenly matched. I'm a little more impressed by MaxPax's here today, mostly because, well, I mean, he lost that one game with the big Widow Mine explosion, but yeah, that was one of those situations where you don't pay attention for literally a 1/10 of a second and you're kind of screwed. Overall, I feel like he's been playing the more impressive game, but obviously this is still Clem we're talking about, and Clem has been the #1 Terran outside of Korea for, well, a very long time at this point. That being said, imagine MaxPax's playing against anybody right below skills, or right below Clem's skill level. I think he would absolutely destroy them. Yeah, pretty amazing, man. Okay, so Twilight Council here once again for MaxPax's. I'm assuming we're going to be going straight into that blink play here. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, this SCV, he's going to be building a starport. Watch it. Right now. Boom. Starport coming up. Okay. Cyclone here coming up, mostly just for a little bit of early game defense. I, by the way, did not get that glass of water or coffee that I was talking about earlier, like an hour ago. This is turning out to be a very long series. I've been making videos full-time for like 7 years now. And I still make the rookie mistake of not getting a glass of water or like coffee or whatever before it's dumb, I know. To be fair, I didn't expect that this series would be as long as it has been. It's, by the way, been, I think, 7 years now. I think 2016 is when I started making YouTube videos full-time. At that point, I'd been making videos for like a decade, so I've been making videos for a long time. I started my YouTube channel in 2008. I know, it was a long time, dude. Anyways, really didn't expect that. When I first made the decision, right? So I tried making up my mind to do this whole thing full time for months. It was something in the back of my mind for years. And then I was like, you know what? I want to try and see if I can do this whole thing full time. And it took me a long time to really come to that decision. And at the time, I really didn't know how long people would be watching my videos for. I kind of assumed that at some point, and I sometimes still assume that actually, that at some point somebody flashier will come along and everybody will switch to that. Or people just don't enjoy watching StarCraft or my videos, or I would have a difficult time pivoting towards another game, or like people would just lose interest, right? The reality is, though, that even though I assumed that maybe it would last a couple of years at most, it's now been 7 years, and every year it seems to be slightly better than the previous one, which is kind of amazing. So, hey, thank you guys for watching my videos, genuinely. I really love what I do. It is awesome to start every day making videos. Really enjoy the live streaming that I do pretty much every single day. Widowmine drop coming in right now. Not really getting a whole lot done. Okay. This one is going to sacrifice himself as well. In the meantime, we have the Stalkers ready to micro on the other side of the map. Siege tank, though, really far away. That's going to be a difficult one to hit. What's interesting to me as well, sometimes I go back to the videos that I uploaded like 7 or 8 years ago. And those are the videos that allowed me to do what I do for a living full time. Ay, guys, they're painful. Why did you guys watch that shit? No, okay, no. I'm not going to blame you. Actually, I want to thank, but like, seriously though, I quite like my cast that I do these days. I think I've gotten a lot better at it over the years. But the videos from 7 years ago that ultimately allowed me to do this whole thing full time ago, like it's just, it's funny. It really is. Anyways, third Nexus going up right now. I cringe really bad. I think everybody has this. When you look at your old work from like, you know, a decade ago, it's probably painful, right? It's probably not something you're particularly proud of, but it is kind of funny to see. Oh, are we gonna commit? He's thinking about it. Yeah, we are gonna commit. That's a little bit risky. I mean, yeah, we do have that one siege tank going down, but that came at the cost of like a bunch of Stalkers. The double bunker over here at the front is really, really nice. Prism, hello. We're gonna probably need some pickup over here. Okay, there we go. Lovely play right there by MaxPax's. Even though I don't think that big blink forward right there helped out all too much. I just kicked my footrest. I don't know if that picked up by the microphone, but I kicked my wall and my footrest. Anyways, Robo Bay once again on the back of this. I don't believe that there's really a whole lot that MaxPax's can do over here on the other side of the map anymore. And that means that we get to transition here. So, +1. Combat shields, Stimpak, already done. And we've got ourselves the concussive grenades coming up too, as well as a third command center. Now, you guys want to see a magic trick? You ready? What? How does he do it? Suddenly the command center is done. I know. Maybe one day. In another 7 years or so, I'll teach you guys how I did that. For now though, Protoss happily transitioning right now towards the Colossus. Looks like there was a little bit of poking at the front. Now we have a Medevac chasing a War Prism. Now we have a War Prism chasing a never mind. Now this Prism is gonna hang off to the side, much like those Widowmine drops tend to do. Just hanging off to the side, trying their very best to come in at a more opportune moment. There you go. I don't think that's a word I've ever used in my cast before. in my vocabulary. Ooh. I should come up with a word every week that I have to mix into every cast that week to try and expand the amount of words that I use in my commentary. Remember in the early days, I don't know how many of you have been watching for a long time, but I used to repeat every phrase over and over and over again. And I obviously still have phrases that I repeat, more so than others, but it's gotten better over the years. Nah, there's no way you can do much here. We have a little bit of a poke back and forth. Okay, maybe these zealots over here, though, can get some work done. Suddenly, okay, very exposed. Mostly because the rest of that Protoss army is over here, and I don't think there's really anything good against Marauders. Now, this entire Protoss army is gonna get destroyed, but in the meantime, we have zealots going to town everywhere, getting a ton of SCV kills, and still, I think, justifying that attack right there from the Protoss player. You know what? There must be somebody watching this video right now who has come up with a good word that I should mix into my commentary. There's gotta be something, okay? Let me know down below in the comment section. Something that realistically would be nice to add to my cast. There's gotta be a list of words that would be nice to have. Anyhow. The question right now here is, does MaxPax's have enough units to shut down Clem's army? Because yeah, he's done all that eco damage, but this base is in a world of trouble. A lot of these units don't, despite the fact that it's a heavy supply advantage right now for Terran, they don't have a lot of health. That Nexus is in a bit of trouble. Is he gonna commit for the Nexus? Okay, no, he's gonna go for the Colossus first. Okay, Widowmine connects right there with the clumped up Zealots, and he will still get this Nexus. Zealots still going to town on the other side of the map, though, getting as much damage done as possible. But this is now an overwhelming advantage here for Clem. He still has 60 workers. He's got a roughly 40 supply lead at this point, too. So now we have an uphill battle right here for MaxPax's. How in the world can you try and come back here? Well, when behind, Dark Shrine is what the age-old adage is, and there's no denying that the Dark Shrine can catch the Terran players off guard, but it's an expensive structure and an expensive group of units you need to produce with it. MaxPax's is constantly harassing over here, though, so as good as Clem has been in those main engagements, he has not looked quite as tight here as far as, like, his base defense goes. Yeah, those Zealots are getting a ton of work done, and MaxPax's is slowly pulling his opponent apart here. Right now, though, since Clem does have the 3rd CC nice and secure, we're gonna go into the additional upgrades together with the Ghost Academy. I really think the armory should have been done already, but in the heat of battle, apparently that's something that Clem ended up forgetting, which is ultimately gonna give MaxPax's more time, who just re-established the 4th Nexus over here on the low ground. Vikings trying to hunt down that Prism. Prism is hanging out more in the center area of the map, which is kind of cool, actually. That's what MaxPax's tends to do. He's never really off to the side with his Prisms, because that's the most likely location where it's going to be hanging out. He usually is, like, in a location where, I mean, it's technically more exposed, but it's less likely for the Terran player to find it. Now, not all heroes wear capes, but this man does. 3 Dark Templar running across the map, trying to go after every base. And you know what? There's no detection. There is no detection. Well, we have 1 scan available. That's nice and all. There's a 2nd scan out as well, but already this is making it a whole lot better here for the Protoss. I mean, just forcing out scans like that is massive, okay? So he did lose all the Templar, but those 3 scans, or those 2 scans, they could have been mules. And ultimately, they're not. That is a cost-efficient trade right there for MaxPax's, and it justifies building the Dark Shrine, especially since he can get more value out of it later on in the game too. Maybe right now it's a little bit difficult to get much done, but moving forward, he will probably find some more angles where DTs can be helpful. We're gonna go for 2 additional robo facilities. Okay, so triple robo in total. +2/+2, very late here, to be honest, man. I really... Yeah, it's sloppy to see the armories going down at such inefficient times, even at this level of play. Like, you would never see that from, like, I don't know, one of the top-level Zergs, for example. They're always going to be on point when it comes to their upgrade timings. It happens very frequently, I've noticed, that Terrans at this level still do not have their armory done in time to go into the +2 upgrades. And maybe some of it is intentional, but it really feels like there should be some more refinement when it comes to the 2-2 research. So to clarify, in order to go for 1-1, you only need the engineering bay, but in order to go for 2 upgrades or 3 upgrades in the NG bay, you need to have an armory done. So if you start up the armory as you finish the +1 research, obviously you're delaying yourself by like, well, the duration that it takes to build the armory, so like half a minute. You end up slowing yourself down a lot, and it's giving MaxPax's a lot of opportunity to get back into the things. So he now has a lot of bases over here. Like, the problem is all of those attacks from Terran, they are lined up with these upgrades finishing up. So right now, Clem is maxed out, he's finishing 2-2, now is the moment for him to go for another attack. But this attack could have hit like 30 seconds earlier. And ultimately, that's buying more time here for MaxPax's to get value out of his economy. Okay, 1 Colossus ended up going down. Clem right now, fully maxed. He's trying to move up this ramp into a choke point though. Always difficult to get done. Man, the amount of Vikings at this point though is dangerous. Yeah, those Colossi are just trying their very best to stay alive. We do have all of those robo facilities. Zealots here moving forward. EMP right there as well on all of those Stalkers. Okay. Oh, big hit! Sorry, lad, you fell down that crevice over there, but that was a lovely play right there by MaxPax's. He tried bowling a strike like 12 times, and initially Clem did not allow it, but maybe distracted by something there, or maybe he was just not paying full attention. Obviously, these guys, I mean, they've been playing this series for a long time too. Just one lapse of, well, attention, and instantly you end up losing a chunk of your force. That's why we have the... This is also kind of late. This is why we have the fusion core coming up right now. Fusion core probably could have been built a little bit earlier. Okay. Not really an opportunity yet here for MaxPax's to make that SkyToss transition if he wants to. But he does go into the 3-3 research, and that is gonna... Or sorry, +3/+2. Thought for a second this was also the final upgrade, but no, not quite. Anyways, he's gonna be able to try and inch back as far as those upgrades go by going for 2 forges, all at the same time. +3/+3 did fire up nice and quickly here for Clem. Maybe not quite perfect, but perfect enough. Oh my god, another one. Same location as well. No, never mind. The ramp looks the same, but there's rocks on this one. Anyways, that now suddenly, honestly, those 2 Purification Novas, that now puts MaxPax's back into a much better position here. The question is, does he realize it, right? So that's always a tricky part. Does he realize that he is actually in a much better spot now than he used to be? There's those Dark Templar, being annoying, hiding off to the side, using that blink ability of theirs, marching forward with the main army. Vikings are going to be able to get rid of the last Colossus. Can we blink them to the low ground? We did have the Shadow Stride available once again, but MaxPax's focusing attention right here on the main army. Here we go again! Another good group of Purification Novas. Yeah, the Liberators are not set up in the right position yet. That's ultimately usually what shuts these sorts of attacks down. Right now, we do have all of the Disruptors very exposed, and maybe they will get sniped here, but the Bio... Well, I guess I can call this the Bio Protoss army. The Stalkers and the Zealots are moving forward from the back right now, surrounding all of those lips. They killed the command center, they killed 19 SCVs. Dark Templar, in the meantime, working on a planetary fortress up north. Not gonna get it, though. Oh, are they? Oh, they will! That was actually so close. I would have assumed that the planetary fortress there got one more kill in. MaxPax's right now also intercepting a lot of those SCVs that are running away from that battle. Lovely work right here by MaxPax's, man. How many Disruptors did he lose? Okay, he did lose 10 Disruptors, but ultimately, I think that was a worthy sacrifice. It was Clem trying to be like, ha, I got you now, I got all your splash damage, but ultimately, it allowed MaxPax's to deal a ton of economical damage. And keep in mind that he still has all of those robo facilities from earlier, so he can just rebuild the Disruptors here too. Excellent strategic decision right there by MaxPax's. Sprinkling a little bit of bait in, and well, Clem ended up taking it. Now another planetary fortress here ends up going down. That entire Terran army distracted by just like 4 Zealots. Liberators over here at the very least did get a couple of kills in too. Purification Nova, once again bowling up towards the high ground. The shared golden blue base over here, it's nice and all, but does MaxPax's have enough here? Okay, good targeting right there by Clem. Moving forward aggressively into the Purification Novas, realizing he could close the distance and shut down those disruptors before they properly get underway. In the meantime, though, on the other side of the map, okay, all of the Vikings are gonna get destroyed. Maybe there's a chance that Colossi are once again an option. Still, though, that's 2 bases now killed here by Clem. Trying his very best to move forward. Those Zealots are putting in so much work, though. Liberator over here getting a kill in 2. Just sniping whatever it can. And that's the second Nexus here going down as Clem is retreating back home. But honestly, the amount of income right now that Clem has is really nothing to write home about. It's an additional 19 SCVs that have fallen. And over the last, like, 8 or so minutes, it's been mostly MaxPax's ahead economically. What an absolute bloodbath here. But a beautiful one. A beautiful bloodbath. That's gonna be the name of my album. No, I'm not gonna make an album, but there it is. GG is cold. And despite the fact that MaxPax's was significantly behind here in this final game, he obtains the victory over Clem and wins the series 3-2.